Dr. Elena Rodriguez had been alone at the research station for 3 weeks now. The other scientists had returned to Earth for their yearly break, leaving her with just the humming computers and endless reports about alien plant life. She didn't mind the quiet. After 15 years studying life on distant planets, she found peace in the silence of space. That morning started like any other. Elena checked the weather sensors, updated her research logs, and prepared to collect more samples from the crystal forests outside. The purple trees on this planet grew in perfect geometric patterns, something that still amazed her after 2 years of studying them. She was putting on her environmental suit when the alarm started screaming. The main computer flashed red warnings across every screen. Something had crashed about 2 miles from the station. Elena's heart raced as she checked the readings. Whatever hit the ground was big, and it was still giving off heat signatures. Her hands shook as she called Earth Command, but the message would take hours to reach them. She was completely on her own. Elena grabbed her emergency kit and headed toward the crash site in her hover vehicle. The ride through the crystal forest felt longer than usual. Every shadow seemed to hide something dangerous. She had never encountered alien life beyond plants and small creatures that looked like glowing butterflies. The possibility of finding something truly unknown made her stomach twist with both fear and excitement. The crash site was worse than she expected. A long scar cut through the crystal trees, with broken purple branches scattered everywhere. At the end of the destruction sat something that definitely wasn't human technology. The ship looked organic, like it had been grown rather than built. Its surface had a wet, breathing quality that made Elena step back. But she was a scientist. Her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She approached carefully, holding her scanner in front of her. The readings were unlike anything in her databases. The ship's material seemed to be alive, pulsing with its own rhythm. Elena walked around the wreckage, looking for an entrance. On the far side, she found a crack in the hull that was slowly opening and closing like a wound trying to heal itself. Taking a deep breath, Elena squeezed through the opening. The inside of the ship was dark and warm. Her flashlight revealed walls that curved in impossible ways, covered with what looked like veins carrying glowing fluid. The air smelled like copper and something sweet she couldn't identify. Her environmental suit kept her safe, but she could feel the strangeness of this place through every sensor. Then she heard it. A sound that wasn't quite a moan, wasn't quite a whistle. Something was alive in here, and it was hurt. Elena followed the sound deeper into the ship. Her flashlight beam danced across surfaces that seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly at them. The sound grew louder, more desperate. Finally, she found its source in what might have been the ship's control room. What she saw made her step backward so fast she almost tripped. Lying in the center of the room was a creature unlike anything from Earth's worst nightmares. Its body was roughly human-sized but covered in what looked like infected wounds that bubbled and oozed. Multiple arms or tentacles sprouted from its torso at wrong angles. Its skin was a sickly gray-green color that seemed to shift and crawl even as Elena watched. The creature's head was the worst part. Where a face should be, there was a mass of writhing flesh with several eyes of different sizes scattered across its surface. Some eyes were cloudy white, others were deep black, and a few glowed with their own dim light. When the creature noticed Elena's flashlight, all the eyes turned toward her at once. Elena's first instinct was to run. Every human instinct screamed at her to get away from this thing. But then she noticed something that stopped her cold. The creature was trying to move toward her, but one of its arms was trapped under a piece of the ship's structure. Dark fluid leaked from the injury. The sounds it made weren't threatening. They sounded like cries for help. Elena had spent her whole career studying life in all its forms. She had dissected things that made other scientists sick. She had handled creatures that most people would find disgusting. But this was different. This wasn't just ugly or strange. This thing seemed designed to trigger every fear humans had. About the unknown, yet it was clearly in pain, clearly asking for help in the only way it could. She stood there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, fighting with herself. The smart thing would be to leave, call for backup, let the military handle this. But Elena looked at those mismatched eyes and saw Something she recognized. Suffering, fear, the same emotions she would feel if she were trapped. Hurt in an alien place. Alina made her choice. She approached slowly, talking in soft, calm tones. Even though she knew the creature probably couldn't understand her words. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm not going to hurt you. I want to help." The creature went still as she got closer. Its eyes watched her every movement, but it didn't try to attack or flee. Alina carefully examined the trapped limb. The piece of wreckage was heavy, but not impossible to move. She positioned herself and pushed with all her strength. The metal groaned and shifted just enough for the creature to pull its injured arm. Dark fluid spurted from the wound, and the creature made a sound that was definitely pain. Alina quickly opened her medical kit and pulled out the universal healing gel they used for emergency injuries. She had no idea if it would work on alien biology, but she had to try something. "This might sting," she said, applying the gel to the wound. The creature's body tensed, but it didn't pull away. Alina worked quickly, cleaning and bandaging the injury as best she could. The creature watched her with those strange eyes, making soft sounds that almost seemed like gratitude. When Alina finished, she sat back and really looked at the being she had just helped. It was still horrifying to look at. Its appearance seemed to violate everything humans considered normal or beautiful, but now she could see past the surface to the intelligence behind those eyes. This wasn't just a monster. This was someone. "We need to get you somewhere safe," Alina said, standing up. The creature struggled to sit up, clearly weak from its injuries. Alina hesitated for only a moment before reaching out to help support its weight. The skin felt warm and slightly damp. Nothing like human skin, but she forced herself not to flinch together. They made their way out of the crashed ship. The creature moved slowly, leaning heavily on Alina for support. She guided it toward her hover vehicle, wondering how she was going to explain this to Earth Command. She was bringing an unknown alien back to the research station. It went against every protocol she had ever learned. But as they reached her vehicle and she helped the creature inside, Alina knew she had made the right choice. Whatever this being was, wherever it had come from, it deserved compassion and care. The fact that it looked like something from humanity's darkest fears didn't change that basic truth. The ride back to the station was quiet, except for the gentle humming of the hover vehicle. Alina glanced at her passengers several times during the journey. The creature had closed most of its eyes and seemed to be resting, but one eye remained open, watching Alina with what she could only describe as curiosity. Alina had no idea what she had gotten herself into. She didn't know what this creature was, where it came from, or what it wanted. All she knew was that she had found someone who needed help, and she had chosen to give it. Everything else would have to wait until tomorrow. Alina spent the first night watching over her strange patient in the medical bay. The creature had fallen into what looked like sleep, though she couldn't be sure. Its breathing was slow and steady, and most of its eyes had closed. But even asleep, its appearance was deeply unsettling. The skin continued to shift and bubble in places, like something was moving underneath. She tried to stay awake, but exhaustion finally won. Alina dozed off in her chair, and that's when the dreams started. Colors that didn't exist filled her mind. Shapes that hurt to think about twisted through her vision. She woke up gasping, her heart racing. The creature was still sleeping peacefully, as if nothing had happened. Over the next few days, Alina established a routine. She would check the creature's injuries each morning, change its bandages, and try to make it comfortable. The healing gel seemed to be working. The worst wounds were closing, though they left strange silver scars across its gray-green skin. Alina started talking to the creature while she worked. At first, she just explained what she was doing, the way she might talk to an injured animal. But gradually, she found herself sharing more. She told it about Earth, about her work, about why she had chosen to study life on distant planets. The creature listened with those mismatched eyes, occasionally making soft sounds that almost seemed like responses. On the fourth day, something amazing happened. Alina was showing the creature pictures on her tablet, trying to explain different concepts. She had started with simple things like numbers and shapes. When she showed it the number 3, the creature reached out with one of its better arms and touched the screen. The display flickered, and suddenly 3 dots appeared in a perfect triangle pattern. Elena's breath caught. The creature had somehow interfaced with her tablet directly. That should have been impossible. The technology wasn't designed for alien contact. But there it was, clear as day. The creature understood numbers, and it could manipulate human technology in ways that made no sense. "How did you do that?" Elena whispered. The creature tilted its head, a gesture that seemed almost human despite its horrible appearance. It touched the screen again, and this time, mathematical equations began appearing. Not simple math, but complex formulas that Elena recognized from advanced physics. Some of them were beyond anything she had studied. Elena grabbed her notebook and started copying down the equations. They dealt with space-time, energy manipulation, and concepts that human science was only beginning to understand. This creature wasn't just intelligent, it was far more advanced than humanity. The breakthrough in communication came a week later. Elena had been trying different approaches, from music to pictographs to basic sign language. Nothing seemed to work consistently until she tried something different. She drew a simple stick figure on her tablet and pointed to herself. Then she drew another figure and pointed to the creature. The creature studied the drawings for a long moment. Then it touched the screen, and both figures began to move. They walked toward each other, and the stick figure representing Elena reached out to help the other one, just like what had happened in the crashed ship. The creature had understood not just the concept, but the emotional meaning behind it. Elena felt tears in her eyes. "You remember?" she said softly. "You remember that I helped you?" The creature made a sound that was different from before. Softer, almost musical. It reached out slowly and gently touched Elena's hand. Skin was warm and slightly damp, but Elena didn't pull away. For just a moment, she felt something impossible. A sense of gratitude and friendship that didn't come through words or gestures, but seemed to flow directly from the creature to her mind. Meanwhile, Elena was having problems with Earth Command. Her daily reports had mentioned finding an alien survivor, and the response had been immediate and harsh. Dr. Peterson, from the Xenobiology department, had been especially angry during their video call. "Rodriguez, you violated every protocol we have," Peterson had said, his face red with frustration. "That thing could be carrying diseases that could wipe out human life, could be dangerous in ways we don't understand." "It's hurt and alone," Elena had replied. "It's not threatening anyone. You don't know that. You're letting your emotions cloud your judgment. We're sending a containment team to transfer the specimen to a proper facility." "It's not a specimen," Elena had snapped. "It's a person." Expression had grown cold. "That remains to be determined. So the team will arrive in 3 weeks. Keep your distance from the alien until then." But Elena couldn't keep her distance. Every day the creature showed her new things. It created 3-dimensional models in the air, using some kind of energy manipulation she couldn't understand. It drew star maps that showed constellations Elena had never seen. Most importantly, it seemed to be learning about her just as much as she was learning about it. The dreams were getting stronger, too. Lena would close her eyes and see impossible. Landscapes, cities made of light, beings that existed in dimensions she couldn't properly perceive. She started to suspect these weren't really dreams at all, somehow shared memories or experiences. During one of these dream episodes, Lena found herself standing in a vast library filled with floating books made of pure light. A figure approached her, but she couldn't see it clearly. The figure communicated without words, filling her mind with concepts about consciousness, about the nature of intelligence and identity. "You're showing me this, aren't you?" Lena said aloud when she woke up. The creature was watching her with several of its eyes open. It made that musical sound again and touched the tablet. This time, an image appeared of 2 figures standing together, streams of light connecting their minds. Elena realized that the creature had been testing her from the beginning. Not just her kindness in helping an injured being, but her ability to accept something truly alien. Most humans, when faced with the creature's appearance, would have run away or called for weapons. Elena had stayed. She had offered help and comfort to something that looked like a nightmare. The mathematical equations, technology manipulation, even the shared dreams were all part of some kind of evaluation. The creature was seeing if Alina could move beyond surface appearances to recognize the intelligence and consciousness underneath. "What are you really?" Alina asked one evening as she checked the creature's healing wounds. "Most of the injuries were gone now, leaving only those strange silver scars." "What do you want with me?" The creature touched the tablet one more time, screen filled with an image of the galaxy, with thousands of points of light scattered across it. Then the view zoomed in to show Earth, tiny and blue in the vast darkness. A line of light connected Earth to another distant star. Alina stared at the image, her mind racing. This wasn't just first contact with an alien species. This was contact with something that saw the entire galaxy as its neighborhood. Something that had traveled between stars to reach this remote research station. Something that had specifically sought her out. The question was why. What made Alina Rodriguez, a simple xenobiologist studying plant life on a distant planet, worth the attention of beings who could travel between stars? What had she done to deserve this incredible and terrifying gift? As Alina looked into those strange, mismatched eyes, she realized that she was about to find out. The creature was healing, growing stronger each day. Soon it would be ready to reveal its true purpose for coming here. Alina just hoped she would be brave enough to handle whatever truth was waiting for her. Alina woke up from another vivid dream, her heart pounding. This time, she had seen herself from the outside, watching as she helped the creature in the crashed ship. But she wasn't alone in this vision. Something else was there, observing everything she did, judging every choice she made. She sat up in her narrow bed and looked across the medical bay where the creature rested. Most of its wounds had healed completely now, leaving only those silver scars that seemed to glow faintly in the dark. The creature was awake, several of its eyes focused on her. Alina had the uncomfortable feeling that it had been watching her. "Sleep. You've been testing me, haven't you?" Alina said softly. She didn't expect an answer, but the creature made that musical sound she had come to recognize as acknowledgement. It slowly sat up and moved to the computer terminal. What happened next made Alina's blood run cold. The creature placed its hand on the terminal, and suddenly every screen in the medical bay lit up with images. Not random pictures, but specific. Moments from Alina's life. Her graduation from university. The day she decided to specialize in xenobiology. Her first research paper about treating alien life forms with respect and dignity. "How do you have these?" Alina whispered, stepping closer to the screens. The images shifted to show more recent events. Alina collecting plant samples on this planet. Alina writing in her research journal. Alina lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling and wondering if there was intelligent life somewhere among the stars. The creature turned to look at her, with all of its eyes at once. Then, for the first time since their meeting, it spoke. Not with sounds, but directly into Alina's mind. The voice was neither male nor female, but somehow both and neither at the same time. "We have been watching you for a very long time, Alina." Rodriguez. Alina stumbled backward, her legs suddenly weak. The voice in her head was so clear, so real, that she couldn't deny what was happening. "You can talk," she gasped. "You could always talk." "Yes. But first, we needed to see who you truly are. We needed to know if you would care for something ugly and frightening, if you would offer kindness without the promise of reward." Alina sank into a chair, her mind reeling. "We? Who is we? And why me?" The screens around the room shifted again, showing images of space. Vast starfields, planets she had never seen, and structures that looked like cities made of light floating. "In the void, we are the Kori," the voice continued. "We are consciousness given form, energy shaped by will. We have existed since before your species learned to make fire." Alina stared at the images of impossible beauty floating across the screens. "But you look." She gestured at the creature's twisted, scarred appearance. "Hideous, repulsive. Yes, we chose this form very carefully." The creature stood up, moving with more grace than Alina had seen before. "This body is designed to trigger every fear your species has about the unknown. The bubbling skin, the mismatched eyes, the unnatural proportions. We studied human psychology for centuries to create something that would cause maximum revulsion. But why? Elena's voice cracked. Why make yourself look like that? Because appearance is the first test. Your species judges everything by how it looks. You fear what is different, attack what is strange, destroy what you don't understand. But occasionally, very rarely, we find someone who can see past the surface. Elena remembered her first encounter with the creature. It's the overwhelming urge to run, the disgust and fear she had felt. But she had stayed. She had helped. You crashed here on purpose. Yes, we have been monitoring your work, your writings, your treatment of even the smallest life forms on this planet. You showed promise, but we needed to be certain. The screens now showed Elena's daily routine over the past 2 years. Elena feeding the small butterfly-like creatures that lived in the crystal forest. Elena carefully relocating a nest of ground-dwelling animals before setting up her equipment. Elena sitting alone at night, talking to her plants as if they could understand her. You talk two things that cannot answer back. The voice in her head continued. You show kindness to creatures that offer you nothing in return. You see value in life simply because it exists. This is extremely rare among your species. Elena felt overwhelmed. I don't understand. You're saying you've been spying on me for years? That everything I've done has been some kind of test? Not spying, observing? And not everything was a test. Your kindness is genuine, Elena Rodriguez. That is why you are here. Here for what? What do you want from me? The creature moved closer, and Elena noticed that its appearance was starting to change. The bubbling skin was smoothing out, the random growths were fading, and some of the mismatched eyes were closing. Your species stands at a crossroads. You have the technology to reach the stars, but you still judge everything by surface appearances. You fear what is different. You destroy what you don't understand. Elena watched in fascination as the creature continued to transform. You're healing yourself. You could have done this the whole time. Yes, the injuries were real, but we could have repaired them instantly. Instead, we chose to remain in this form to see how you would react. Would you flee in terror? Would you treat us as a specimen to be studied? Would you try to control or contain us? I helped you, Elena said simply. Yes, you offered comfort to something that frightened you. You spoke gently to something that could not answer, sacrificed your own safety and career to care for. Stranger, this is why you have passed the test. The screens around the room went dark, then lit up with a new image. Elena saw Earth from space, small and blue and beautiful. But now she could see something else. Threads of light connecting Earth to other stars, like a vast web spanning the galaxy. There is a community of conscious beings that spans the galaxy, the voice explained. Thousands of species, millions of worlds, all connected by understanding. In mutual respect, your species has been considered for membership for some time. Elena's heart started racing. Membership? But first, you needed to prove you could evolve beyond your current limitations. Most species that reach the stars do so through conquest and domination. Yes. They see the universe as something to be controlled. They never learn to see beyond surface appearances. Lena looked at the creature, which now appeared less frightening than before. The worst of the distortions were gone, though it still looked far from human. What happens now? Now you must choose. You can return to your normal life. We'll erase your memories of this encounter, and you can continue your research in peace. Or, or what? Or you can help your species take its next step. You can become a bridge between humanity and the galactic community. But this choice will change you forever. You will see things differently. You will understand things that other humans cannot. You will become something new while remaining essentially yourself. Elena stood up on shaky legs, the weight of the decision pressed down on her like a physical force. Everything she had ever known, everything she had believed about humanity's place in the universe, was wrong. They weren't alone. They weren't even particularly special. They were just one young species among thousands, being evaluated for their potential. Why me? She asked again. I'm just a researcher. I study plants. You study life, the voice corrected. You see value in the smallest, simplest creatures. You offer kindness without expecting anything in return. These qualities are exactly what your species needs to develop if they are to join the galactic community. Lena looked around the medical bay that had been her world for so long. Her research, her quiet life among the crystal forests, her simple existence studying alien plant life. All of it seemed so small now compared to what was being offered. How long do I have to decide? The choice must be made now. The Earth military. Ships will arrive in 5 days. If you choose to remain as you are, we will leave. And this opportunity may not come again for your species for many generations. Alina closed her eyes and thought about everything that had led her to this moment. Her love of science, her curiosity about life beyond Earth, her dreams of making contact with alien intelligence. Now that dream was here, but it was nothing like what she had expected. When she opened her eyes, she knew what her answer would be. Alina took a deep breath and looked directly into the creature's eyes. I need to see who you really are first. If I'm going to make this choice, I need to understand what I'm choosing. The voice in her head carried what sounded like approval. Very wise. Yes, you deserve to see our true form. But be warned, Alina Rodriguez. What you are about to witness may be difficult for your human mind to process. The creature stepped back and stood in the center of the medical bay. Alina watched in amazement as its body began to change more dramatically than before. To gray-green. Skin started to glow with a soft light. The bubbling surface smoothed out completely, and the random growths dissolved away like melting ice. But what happened next took Alina's breath away. The creature's physical form began to fade, becoming transparent like colored glass. Underneath, Alina could see something that made her eyes water and her brain struggle to understand what she was looking at. Light. Pure, living light that moved, and danced in patterns too complex for human vision to follow properly. The light formed shapes that weren't quite geometric, colors that didn't exist in any human language. Alina found herself crying without knowing why, overwhelmed by a beauty so intense it almost hurt to witness. This is what we truly are, the voice explained gently. Our consciousness made of energy, thought given form. We exist partially outside your normal space and time. Alina wiped her eyes and tried to focus. The being before her was still recognizable as the creature she had helped, but now she could see the truth underneath. This wasn't some lost alien that had crashed by accident. This was something ancient and powerful that had chosen to appear, weak and ugly to test her character. You're beautiful, Alina whispered. Why would you ever hide this? Because beauty is easy to accept. Anyone can show kindness to something lovely. But it takes true character to offer compassion to something hideous. Your species often mistakes surface appearance for inner worth. The light being moved closer, and Alina felt a warmth that seemed to come from inside her own chest. We needed to know if you could see past our deliberately repulsive form to recognize the consciousness beneath. Most humans cannot. Alina remembered her first encounter with the creature in the crashed ship. The overwhelming urge to run, the fear and disgust she had felt. I almost didn't help you. I wanted to leave, but you didn't leave. You chose compassion over comfort. You chose to help despite your fear. That is why you passed the test. The room around them began to change. The walls became transparent, and Alina could see out into space itself. But this wasn't the empty void she expected. The galaxy was alive with light, connected by streams of energy that flowed between the stars, like rivers of pure thought. This is the galactic community, the voice explained. Thousands of species, millions of conscious beings, all connected by understanding rather than conquest. We share knowledge, art, philosophy, and science across vast distances. Alina stared in wonder at the cosmic web of consciousness. Each point of light represented an entire civilization, an entire world of thinking beings. Earth was there too, but it looked so small and isolated, cut off from the great network by its own fear and aggression. Why hasn't humanity been contacted before? Alina asked. Because your species is not yet ready. You still solve problems through violence. You still judge worth by appearance. You still fear what is different and destroy what you don't understand. Alina felt a stab of shame as she thought about human history. Wars, prejudice, environmental destruction, the way people treated anything that didn't look or think like them. But some of us are different. Yes, some of you show promise. That is why we have been watching and waiting. We have been looking for individuals who can help your species evolve beyond its current limitations. The being of light moved around Alina, and she felt a tingling sensation as it passed close to her. You were not chosen randomly, Alina Rodriguez. We have been observing you for 15 years, since you first published your research about treating alien life forms with dignity and respect. Elena's mind raced back to her early work, papers she had written about the ethical treatment of non-human intelligence. You've been watching me that long? We observe many humans who show potential. We watched you care for injured animals during your training. We watched you refuse to participate in experiments that would cause unnecessary suffering. We watched you choose to study life rather than to control it. The space around them shifted again, showing Alina scenes from her own life. But now she was seeing them from an outside perspective, as if through alien eyes. She saw herself as a young student, staying up all night to care for an injured bird she had found. She saw herself years later, gently relocating insects before setting up her equipment rather than simply destroying them. Every act of kindness, every moment of compassion, every choice to see value in life that others considered worthless. We observed it all. Alina felt overwhelmed. I was just doing what felt right. Exactly. You acted from genuine compassion. Not because you were being watched or judged. That is what made you worthy of consideration. Being paused, and Alina sensed something like sadness in its mental voice. Many humans who show early promise eventually lose their way. They become cynical, aggressive, or indifferent. You remained consistent. You continued to choose kindness, even when it cost you personally. Alina thought about the times she had been passed over for promotions because she refused to cut corners in her research. The colleagues who had mocked her for talking to plants and insects. The loneliness of always being the person who cared too much about things others considered unimportant. Your isolation was necessary. The being seemed to read her thoughts. We needed to see if your compassion was genuine or if it was just a way to gain social approval. When you continued to show kindness even when no one was watching, we knew you might be ready for this opportunity. Alina looked around at the cosmic network of light, trying to imagine what it would mean to be part of something so vast and beautiful. What would happen to me if I accept you would become a bridge between your species and the galactic community? Your consciousness would expand to allow direct communication with other intelligent beings. You would gain understanding of sciences and philosophies beyond current human knowledge. But would I still be me? It would remain essentially yourself, but enhanced. Think of it like learning a new language. But instead of words, you would learn new ways of thinking and perceiving. Your compassion, your curiosity, your dedication to life itself, these core parts of who you are would not change, Alina felt. Excitement and terror in equal measure. What would my role be exactly? You would help identify other humans who are ready for contact. You would serve as a translator, helping your species understand that intelligence comes in many forms. Most importantly, you would help humanity evolve beyond its current limitations. The being showed her images of other species that had successfully joined the galactic community. Some looked vaguely humanoid, others were completely alien, existing as living crystals, energy clouds, or collective consciousness. But all of them had learned to see past surface appearances to recognize the value of consciousness itself. This is what awaits your species if it can learn to grow beyond fear and prejudice. But the choice cannot be forced. It must be made freely by individuals who understand what they are choosing. Alina realized that this moment would define not just her own future, but potentially the future of all humanity. She said yes, she would become something new, something that existed between human and alien. If she said no, the opportunity might not come again for generations. The Earth. Ships will arrive in 3 days, the being reminded her gently. If you choose to remain human, I will resume my ugly form and allow myself to be captured. Your superiors will study me, learn nothing of value, and eventually declare me an interesting but ultimately meaningless discovery. Alina looked out at the galaxy full of light and consciousness, then back at the being who had trusted her with this incredible secret. She thought about all the humans who would never get this chance, would live and die without knowing they were part of something vast and wonderful. The weight of the decision was enormous. But Alina knew what her heart was telling her. She had spent her entire life searching for meaning among the stars, and now the stars were offering to search back. Alina stood in the transformed medical bay, surrounded by the cosmic light of 1,000 civilizations. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she looked at the being of pure energy waiting patiently for her answer. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about the future of humanity itself. "I accept," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to help my species grow. I want to be part of something bigger." The being pulsed with warm light, and Alina felt a wave of approval wash over her. "Are you certain, Alina Rodriguez? Once this process begins, there is no returning to who you were before." Alina thought about her quiet life studying plants, her lonely nights wondering if Earth was truly alone in the universe. She thought about all the humans who lived their entire lives never knowing that consciousness and beauty existed on scales beyond their imagination. "I'm certain. Show me what I need to do. The transformation will take 3 days," the being explained. "During this time, your consciousness will expand gradually. You will retain your essential self, your memories, your personality, but you will also gain new abilities and understanding." Lena nodded, feeling nervous but determined. "Will it hurt?" "Pain is not the right word. It will be intense. It's like trying to see colors that don't exist or hearing music played in dimensions you cannot perceive. Your mind will stretch to accommodate new ways of thinking." The being moved closer, and Alina felt warmth radiating from its light. "Are you ready to begin?" Alina took a deep breath and closed her eyes. What happened next was unlike anything Alina had ever experienced. It felt like falling and flying at the same time. Her consciousness seemed to expand beyond the boundaries of her physical body. Colors exploded behind her closed eyelids, colors that had no names because humans had never seen them before. Alina felt her awareness stretching across vast distances. For a moment, she could sense the crystal forests outside the research station, could feel the simple thoughts of the butterfly creatures as they moved among the purple trees. Then her perception expanded further. Reaching out to touch the minds of creatures on distant worlds, the experience was overwhelming. Alina felt herself crying, but didn't know if the tears were from joy or terror. She was still herself. Still Alina Rodriguez, but she was also becoming something more. Something that could exist in the space between human and alien, familiar and unknown. When the initial surge of transformation faded, Alina opened her eyes. The being was still there, its light now seeming more familiar and less alien. Alina looked down at her hands and gasped. Her skin had a faint glow, as if starlight was flowing just beneath the surface. "How do you feel?" the being asked. Alina flexed her fingers, watching the light dance across her skin. "Different, but still me." She paused, trying to find words. For the new sensations filling her mind, "I can sense things. The life in the forest outside. Something else too, something far away. The galactic network. You are beginning to connect to the shared consciousness of the community. In time, you will be able to communicate directly with beings across the galaxy." Over the next 2 days, Alina's transformation continued. She found she could understand the mathematical principles behind faster-than-light travel just by looking at the equations. She could sense the emotions of small creatures from great distances. Most remarkably, she could perceive beauty in things she had never noticed before. The crystal trees outside weren't just plants, she realized. They were part of a vast communication network that spanned the entire planet. The patterns they grew in weren't random, but formed a kind of language that spoke about the planet's health and history. Alina had been studying these trees for 2 years without understanding what they really were. On the morning of the 3rd day, Alina woke up feeling fundamentally changed. She looked in the mirror. She saw herself, but enhanced. Eyes held depths that hadn't been there before, and her skin continued to glow with that soft inner light. She was still human, but she was also something new. "The transformation is complete," the being said as Alina joined it in the main lab. "How do you feel?" Alina smiled, and for the first time in days she felt truly happy. "I feel like I'm finally seeing the universe as it really is. It's beautiful beyond anything I ever imagined, and you are ready for what comes next." Before Alina could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the research station. Red lights flashed on every control panel. Alina checked the external sensors and felt her heart sink. 3 large military ships were approaching the planet. "They're early," Alina said. "They're not supposed to arrive until tomorrow." The being moved to the computer terminal and placed its hand on the interface. Immediately, all the screens showed the approaching ships. They accelerated their schedule. "Someone at Earth's command became suspicious about your reports." Alina watched the ships getting closer. Soon, soldiers would land at the research station. They would want to capture and study the being, probably taking Alina back to Earth for questioning about her contamination from alien contact. "What do we do?" Alina asked. "We give them what they expect to see," the being replied. Its form began to shift, the beautiful light fading as it resumed the ugly, twisted appearance it had worn when Alina first found it. But now Alina could see through the disguise. The horrible exterior couldn't hide the consciousness of light that lived beneath. "They'll take you away," Alina protested. "They'll try to dissect you, study you like a specimen. Let them try. We'll learn nothing useful. Meanwhile, you will begin your real work." Alina understood. The being would allow itself to be captured, giving Alina the freedom to start identifying other humans who might be ready for contact. The military would be so focused on their alien prisoner that they wouldn't pay much attention to one changed. "Researcher, how will I find the others?" Alina asked. "The same way we found you. Look for humans who show kindness to things others consider worthless. Look for those who see value in life simply because it exists. Look for people who choose compassion, even when it costs them personally." The ships were getting closer. Alina could see landing craft separating from the main vessels. In a few hours, soldiers would be at her door. "Will I see you again?" Alina asked. "When the time is right, yes. But for now, you must work alone. Help your species prepare for the day when they are ready to join the galactic community as equals." Alina nodded, feeling the weight of her new responsibility. She was no longer just a researcher studying alien plants. She was humanity's first ambassador to a vast community of conscious beings, tasked with finding others who could help their species evolve beyond fear and prejudice. The being resumed its position on the medical bed, once again appearing to be nothing more than an injured alien survivor. But Alina could see the truth now. This wasn't the end of first contact. It was just the beginning. As the landing craft touched down outside the research station, Alina prepared to meet the military team. Should play her role, act like a researcher who had simply tried to help an injured alien. The soldiers would take the being away, never knowing they were handling one of the galaxy's most advanced life forms. But Alina would remember. She would carry the light of the galactic community within her, searching for other humans who were ready to see beyond surface appearances. She would look for people who could offer kindness to the ugly, compassion to the frightening, and love to the alien. Because in the end, that was what the test had really been about. Not intelligence or technology or scientific knowledge. It was about the courage to see beauty in the strange, to find worth in the different, and to offer kindness. Without the promise of reward, Alina touched her glowing skin one last time before covering it with her lab coat. The transformation was complete, but the real work was just beginning. Somewhere among the billions of humans on Earth, others were waiting to be found. Others who could pass the test of seeing beyond appearances to recognize the consciousness that connects all thinking beings. Alina smiled as she heard the soldiers approaching. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders beyond human imagination. And now, thanks to one woman's choice to help an ugly stranger, humanity had taken its first step toward joining that greater community of light.